Hello, everyone. I'm going to start with a confession that has been sitting in the pit of my stomach, heavy and cold, for 5 years. It's the kind of thing you don't say at dinner parties. It's the kind of thing you don't even whisper to your best friend over wine because you know they'll judge you. Or worse, they'll misunderstand you. I stayed. I kept my vows. I was the good wife, the loyal partner, the one who never cheated. If you looked at my phone, you'd find no illicit texts. If you checked my location history, it was always work, home, gym, grocery store. I was unimpeachable. But my heart abandoned my marriage long before my body ever considered leaving. And that, the silent, invisible, emotional infidelity, that is the part I never admitted to anyone. Not even to myself, until it was too late. We talk about cheating like it's an action, a specific event, a hotel room, a stolen kiss, a deleted thread of messages. But nobody talks about the cheating that happens in the silence. The betrayal that happens when you are sitting right next to your spouse on the couch, watching a movie, but your soul is 1,000 miles away, wishing you were laughing with someone else. That was me. I was the perfect wife on paper, and a complete traitor in spirit. Let me tell you about Michael. My husband, well, my ex-husband now, is a good man. And I don't say that as a throwaway line. I mean, he is fundamentally, deeply good. He is stable, he is kind to waiters, he remembers his mother's birthday, he is a fantastic provider who checked the oil in my car before I even thought to ask. We met in our mid-20s, back when love meant finding someone who wouldn't hurt you. We built a life that looked absolutely perfect on paper. We were the checklist couple. The 4-bedroom house in the suburbs with the kitchen island everyone complimented, the dual income stability, the planned vacations to places like Cabo and the Amalfi Coast, where we took photos smiling with our heads pressed together. We were the couple everyone envied. Our friends would get drunk and fight, or complain about their partner's gambling debts or wandering eyes, and then they'd look at us and say, "God, I wish I had what you and Michael have. You guys are the proof. You're the rock." I wore that envy like a badge of honor. I thought it meant we were winning. But somewhere along the way, between the mortgage payments and the promotions, we stopped being partners and started being very efficient roommates running a corporation called Our Life LLC. It didn't happen overnight. It was a slow fade. The erosion of intimacy is so quiet you don't hear it happening. The kisses became routine, a peck on the cheek before work, dry and quick like stamping a time card. "Have a good day," he'd say. "You too," I'd reply. And I'd feel nothing. No flutter. No warmth, just the satisfaction of a task completed. The conversations shifted. We used to talk about art, about where we wanted to travel, about our fears. Now, we talked about logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? Did we RSVP to the wedding? What should we make for dinner? I was in the marriage. I was cooking the meals, folding the laundry, planning the weekends. But I wasn't present in it. I was a ghost haunting my own house. I was lonely. Profoundly, achingly lonely, inside the company of the one person on earth who was supposed to know me best. There is a specific memory that haunts me. It was our 7th anniversary. We were at a steakhouse, the kind with white tablecloths and dim lighting. It should have been romantic. Michael reached his hand across the table to take mine. It was a sweet gesture, a loving gesture. But when I looked at his hand, familiar, safe, warm, my body didn't want to reach back. I felt a physical recoil. My hand remained completely still on my lap, gripping my napkin. I forced myself to lift it, to lace my fingers through his, but it felt like lifting 100 pounds of lead. I smiled at him. He smiled back. He didn't know that on the inside I was screaming. I was screaming because I felt nothing but a quiet, crushing obligation. I felt like I was playing a role in a play I no longer understood. Then came Alex. Alex wasn't some mysterious stranger I met at a bar. He was a hire in the marketing department at my firm. He sat 3 cubicles down. It started innocently. It always does, doesn't it? That's how the trap is set. It started with shared projects, late-night emails about deadlines, the kind of workplace camaraderie you mistake for just good collaboration. He was everything Michael was not. Michael was predictable, calm, beige. Alex was volatile, spontaneous, full of neon energy. He was messy, he was loud, and he was brilliant. At first, I told myself he was just a work friend. I just like his energy, I told myself. It makes the workday go faster. But then, the conversation shifted. We stopped talking about spreadsheets and started talking about music, then movies, then childhoods. He saw things in me that Michael had stopped looking for years ago. Michael saw the wife. He saw the person who managed the household. Alex saw me. He saw the woman who liked obscure indie bands and had a dark sense of humor that she usually suppressed at home. I remember one Tuesday, just a random, rainy Tuesday. I was stuck on a coding problem, staring at my screen until my eyes blurred. Alex walked by, saw my frustration, and wheeled his chair over. He leaned over my shoulder to look at the monitor. He didn't touch me, but his breath was warm on the back of my neck. I could smell him, coffee, rain, and something distinctly masculine. He pointed at the screen. "There," he said. "You missed a bracket." I turned my head to thank him. He was inches away. When I looked up, he wasn't looking at the code. He wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at me. His eyes were searching my face, not like a colleague, but like a man trying to solve a riddle. In that suspended moment, between the hum of the office AC and the clicking of keyboards, a terrible, uncomfortable truth hit me like a physical blow. The energy, the laughter, the spark, the very aliveness I felt sitting next to Alex, was the profound, fundamental thing missing from my marriage. I realized I wasn't falling for Alex. Not really. I didn't know if he squeezed the toothpaste from the middle or if he snored. I didn't know him. I was falling for the reflection of myself that I saw in his eyes. I was falling for the feeling of being truly seen again. I was falling for the version of myself that existed when I was near him. Witty, attractive, interesting. When I was with Michael, I felt tired. When I was with Alex, I felt electric. We never touched. I want to make that clear because it was the shield I used to protect my conscience. We never held hands, we never kissed. We never met up at a hotel. Not even a whispered word of anything explicitly inappropriate left our lips. The line of infidelity was a mile wide, and I stood rigidly on my side of it. I judged other women who crossed it. I told myself, I am a loyal wife. I am just friendly. But that was the lie. Every lunch break I spent with him, ignoring my other coworkers to sit in our little bubble, that was infidelity. Every private joke we developed that I couldn't explain to Michael, that was infidelity. Every morning when I woke up, and the first thought in my head wasn't, "Good morning, husband," but, "I wonder if Alex is in the office yet." That was infidelity. I was giving Alex the best of me. I gave him my sharpest wit, my deepest attention, my most genuine laughter. And then, at 5 p.m., I would drive home to the suburbs, drain all the life out of my face, and walk through the front door to give Michael the empty leftovers. I gave my husband the shell. I gave the stranger the pearl. I lived in a state of constant, low-grade moral panic. I felt like a fraud. I felt dirty, even though I hadn't done anything. I would go home and listen to Michael talk about his day, about the traffic, about the neighbor's dog barking, and I would nod and say, that's crazy, honey. But in my head, I was replaying a conversation I'd had with Alex 3 hours earlier. I was replaying the way Alex laughed when I made a cynical joke. I was effectively living 2 lives. One on the surface, perfectly curated and hollow, and one entirely in my own head, vibrant and secret. It all came to a head because of a dream. The subconscious has a way of knowing the truth long before the conscious mind is ready to accept it. One night, about 6 months into this friendship with Alex, I woke up gasping, tears streaming down my face. Michael stirred beside me, mumbling, "You okay?" I lied and said I was fine. Just a nightmare. But it wasn't a nightmare. It was a revelation. In the dream, Michael and I were at the airport. We were going on one of our perfect planned vacations. We were at the security checkpoint. The guard asked Michael to open my carry-on bag. Michael smiled, that trusting, kind smile of his, and unzipped my bag. But the bag wasn't full of clothes or toiletries. It was full of feelings. It was filled with crimson smoke, throbbing and glowing. It was full of my desire for Alex. It was full of the secrets I'd kept. In the dream, Michael looked into the bag. He didn't look angry. He didn't scream. He just looked up at me with total devastation. He looked at me like he didn't know who I was. And in the dream, he whispered, "I thought you were bringing us." That was the crack in the foundation. That was the moment of raw realization. I sat in the dark of our master bedroom, listening to Michael's steady breathing, and I realized I wasn't protecting Michael by staying. I had told myself I was staying because I was loyal, because I didn't want to hurt him, but that was a lie. I was staying because I was selfish. I was using the sanctity of loyalty as a shield. I was hiding behind my vows because the fear of blowing up my life, the fear of selling the house, of telling our parents, of being the bad guy, was greater than the pain of living a lie. I was loyal to the idea of my marriage. I was loyal to the status of being a wife. But I was fundamentally disloyal to the people inside the marriage, Michael and myself. I was robbing Michael of the chance to be with a woman who actually loved him, fully and completely. I was robbing him of a partner who reached back across the table. And I was robbing myself of a life where I didn't have to hide. I know what some of you are thinking. I read the comments on channels like this. Some of you will say, "You didn't cheat. Thoughts aren't crimes. You stayed. That counts for something." But does it? I've learned that sometimes choosing to stay out of cowardice can be a far crueler act of betrayal than choosing to leave with honesty. Staying when your heart is gone isn't loyalty. It's holding someone hostage to a fantasy. This purgatory went on for a full year. A year of lunches, a year of stolen glances, a year of fake smiles at home. Then, the universe forced my hand. Alex was offered a job, a massive promotion. But it was in Seattle, across the country. He came to my desk on his last day to say goodbye. The office was buzzing with people wishing him luck, eating cake. We stepped into a quiet corner near the elevators. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I wanted to grab his lapels. I wanted to beg him to stay. I wanted to scream, "Don't you know you're the only thing keeping me alive?" But I didn't. I stood there clutching a paper cup of lukewarm coffee. He looked at me. He really looked at me, with those eyes that saw everything. He didn't say, "I'll miss you." He didn't say, "Let's keep in touch." He leaned in close, his voice low, and said 5 words that shattered me. "You deserve to be happy." I froze. It wasn't a wish, it was an accusation. He knew. He had known all along that I was miserable. He had known all along that my marriage was a performance. I finally cracked. I didn't confess my feelings for him. That would have been messy and pointless. Instead, I confessed the truth of my own life. "I deserve to be honest," I whispered back, my voice shaking. He just nodded, a sad, small smile on his face. "Then be honest," he said, "with him and with yourself." And then the elevator doors opened, and he got in, and he was gone. Here is the bittersweet revelation, the twist that I didn't see coming. I never saw Alex again. We didn't start a long-distance affair. He didn't leave so I could follow him. The person who saved my marriage wasn't my husband. It was the man I was secretly in love with. But he didn't save it by fixing it. He saved me by destroying the illusion. His leaving forced me to look at the empty space he had been filling. Without Alex to distract me, without the dopamine hit of our interactions, I was left alone in the silence of my marriage. And the silence was deafening. I realized I couldn't use Alex as a crutch anymore. I couldn't use him to supplement the happiness I wasn't getting at home. That night, I went home. Michael was in the kitchen, making pasta. The same pasta we had every Friday. The routine, the safety. I stood in the doorway and watched him. I felt a wave of love for him. Not romantic love, but a deep, sorrowful care. He was a good man. And because he was a good man, he deserved the truth. I walked in. I turned off the stove. "Michael," I said, "we need to talk." I told him everything. Well, almost everything. I didn't tell him Alex's name. I didn't want to poison his memory of the past with a specific rival. That seemed cruel. But I told him about the loneliness. I told him about the disconnect. I didn't say, I love someone else. I said, I don't love us anymore. And I haven't for a long time. I have been acting, and you deserve better than an actress. I expected anger. I braced myself for shouting, for tears, for him to throw a plate. But Michael just sat down at the kitchen island. He put his head in his hands. And after a long, agonizing silence, he looked up. His eyes were red. I know, he said softly. I've known for years. I didn't want to be the one to say it. That was the final sting. We had both been drowning, holding on to each other, dragging each other down, simply because we were too afraid to swim to the surface alone. We got divorced. It was quiet. It was respectful. We divided the assets. We sold the house with the perfect kitchen island. The sting of truth was painful. God, it hurt to dismantle a decade of life. But it was clean. It was a clean wound, unlike the infected, festering wound of the lie we had been living. We had 5 years of shared memories, and in the end, we gave each other the ultimate gift: freedom. Freedom from a love that had died, and freedom to find a love that was alive. I want to leave you with the lesson I learned, paid for with the price of my marriage. Loyalty isn't just about what you don't do. It's not just about not sleeping with someone else. Loyalty is about what you do. It's the commitment to the truth, even when the truth is ugly. It is the commitment to show up as your full self. Staying for 5 more years of perfection would have been 10 more years of resentment. It would have turned us into bitter, hateful strangers. Leaving was the only act of loyalty left. It was loyalty to the honest love we both deserved to find with other people. Now I am completely alone. I live in a smaller apartment in the city. The walls aren't perfect. I don't have a dual income. But for the first time in a decade, I am not lonely. I wake up in the morning, and the silence isn't heavy. It's peaceful. I am present in my own life. When I smile, I mean it. When I hold a cup of coffee, I feel the warmth. But I won't lie to you and say it's a fairy tale ending. There is a shadow that lingers. The shadow is the guilt of the time I stole. I look back at photos of Michael and me from that last year, and I see the hope in his eyes and the distance in mine. I regret that I didn't have the courage to break the image sooner. I regret that it took another man to make me see my own husband clearly. I am happier now. But I carry the scar of being the villain in someone else's story so that I could finally be the hero in my own. Thank you for letting me share this here. This channel, this community. This is the place where we can admit the things we can't tell our friends. It feels good to finally say it out loud. Now, I want to turn this over to you. If this story made you feel a sharp, emotional truth, if it reminded you of a relationship you held on to for too long, or a silence you're currently living in, I would love to hear from you. What is the lesson you took away from this? Do you think emotional infidelity is worse than physical? And tell me, where in the world are you watching from right now? Let me know in the comments below. Just knowing we're all sitting here, across oceans and time zones, sharing these complex, messy truths, it means the world to me. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button. It helps more people find these confessions. And please subscribe to the channel. I'll be back next week with another story that hurts a little but heals a lot. Take care of your hearts, everyone. Be honest with them,